Fire burn on Babylon. Fire burn. Fire burn on Babylon. Fire burn from America. Shalom, peace and blessings, brothers and sisters, Facebook fam and friends, YouTubers, and all who are listening. I pray that the Most High is blessing and enriching you in every area of your lives, and that you are contending for the faith in these last and evil days. But the good thing is that the more things grow darker, the brighter our lights will shine, and the more we know that the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, is on his way to redeem his people. As you can see on the screen, I have some images of AI data centers, and you probably saw the image for Child's End. I'll just put it back there right quick. Okay, so my video today is going to be about these AI data centers and just all of the issues that they are causing in the world that we might not know about. Um, I was quite surprised by a lot of the information that I was seeing, and so I felt compelled to show um, the information that I found. And so here we go. I'm going to read this information to you. I pray that the Most High Yah will give me the words to speak so that all who hear me will understand or get an idea of what I'm sharing. And this really bothered me, but we know that AI is very popular and most people are using it. I even use it, but I had read somewhere that they were consuming like huge amounts of water, so I decided to do a little digging. So I'm just going to share some of the highlights of the information that I have, and what I'll probably do is post the questions that I asked in the description portion of YouTube, and that way if you want to look at this information and read it later on, you can do that. But the first question that I asked was, why do AI data centers use so much water? And it said AI data centers use vast amounts of water primarily for cooling, as high-density AI chips generate immense heat that requires constant, efficient cooling to prevent damage and maintain performance. Water is evaporated in cooling towers to lower server room temperatures, and indirect water is consumed through the electricity generation powering these facilities. Now, we should be concerned because they use fresh water. And so it says to prevent corrosion and maintenance issues, many systems use treated, potable drinking water, leading to concerns about the sustainability of using potable water for industrial use cooling. Now, they also use fresh water. Potable water is water that's been treated, but it's not considered drinking water. And so I'll go into that a little bit later on. Now, I asked, why do AI centers need fresh waters? And AI data centers require fresh water primarily to cool high-performance servers, preventing them from overheating, though through evaporative cooling. Water is evaporated to dissipate massive heat loads generated by intensive AI computations, often using potable water to prevent microbial buildup, corrosion, and damage to sensitive equipment. A single large data center can consume up to 5 million gallons daily. Okay, so one of the things that it said is while water cooling can lower electricity consumption compared to purely air-cooled systems, it creates a high water footprint. So they are using large amounts of water, and a lot of it is fresh water. Some modern data centers are moving toward closed loop systems or dry cooling to reduce water use. Now, with these things, we have to see how that goes because we know that these industries make a lot of promises as far as uh, using green energy, uh, decreasing their pollution, and the EPA or the government will give them a time limit to have that done, and then they some way find a way to extend that time limit to keep polluting the earth. Okay, so I also asked, why do data centers use so much electricity? Because that's something we also need. We need electricity in our homes, in the businesses, just like fresh water. Not only do fish need it to live in, but the other animals in the forest or in the woods also need fresh water to drink, just like we do. And of course, we want the fish that we eat to come from good water. So, with the electricity, AI data centers consume massive amounts of power, potentially doubling by 2030 due to the intense energy demands of running, training, and cooling thousands of specialized GPUs simultaneously. Unlike traditional computing, generative AI requires continuous high intensity processing with cooling systems and server memory accounting for over 80% of energy usage. Okay, so the rapid AI growth will need rapid deployment of new models and increased use of generative AI. And that means that total data center energy usage is expected to exceed 4% of global electricity consumption by 2035. Okay, so they are increasing. And that 4% is probably conservative. They're probably saying that because they don't want us to be alarmed at how much it takes to run these data centers. So then I asked, what is the likelihood of AI data centers depleting fresh water? The AI overview said that the likelihood of AI data centers significantly impacting local freshwater supplies is high and growing, particularly in arid regions and areas already facing water scarcity. So these people, I'm telling you, they do not care. While they are unlikely to deplete global freshwater resources entirely, their concentrated demand often causes local depletion, with U.S. data center water consumption projected to double or even quadruple between 2023 and 2028. Now, pay attention to some of these words they use, like unlikely or may. That means it's a strong possibility that what they're saying won't happen will. That's what I've learned when listening to media and from working in corporate America for these companies when, they have their talking points and AI is geared to respond in a manner that won't ruffle feathers of the regular people or upset the sheeple. Okay, so high stress locations. Roughly 20% of U.S. data centers in 2021 were drawing water from moderately to highly stressed watersheds. So that means these people already have water issues. As of 2025, that figure is higher, with Bloomberg reporting that two-thirds of U.S. data centers built since 2022 are in high water stress areas. So that means if they built 100, 66 or 67 of them are in high stress areas. That's the majority of them. Okay, rapid expansion. By 2028, AI driven data center water consumption in the US could reach 720 billion gallons annually, equivalent to the indoor needs of 18.5 million households. Now, I saw a video recently. Trump went to visit, it might have been Puerto Rico, it wasn't here, but they are part of the US. But they were saying they needed water. So this might be highly probable that people here on the continental USA will be saying they need water at some point if this growth continues. Okay, so indirect thirsty electricity. Beyond direct cooling, data centers require vast amounts of electricity, which is often generated by power plants that also use large amounts of water for cooling. Arizona, data centers have operated in drought-stricken areas where farmers have been forced to leave fields uncultivated. Oregon, a Google facility in the Dalles, represented 25% of the local water use in 2022, despite the area being considered dry and off limits to new industrial users. Virginia data centers in Northern Virginia consumed nearly 2 billion gallons of water in 2023, a 63% increase over 4 years. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that we need food, right? But we can't go as long without water as we can without food. Like we can eat a little bit of food and be okay, but for water, we need a lot more water to drink in order to be healthy. Okay, now mitigation and future outlook, which we all know how these industries, technology, whatever industry it is that does damage to the ecosystem, we know how they make promises that they don't keep, right? Because they're paying lobbyists in DC and in the local areas to be able to operate their facilities. Okay, so I had read somewhere that a lot of these local governments, the officials, the people don't consider their constituents either, just like they don't in DC. Like where I live, they have a lot of fracking, and that has caused a lot of instability in our state. That's why we're having so many earthquakes. They haven't had any really huge ones yet, but we don't know if fracking is going to eventually cause that to happen because they're making the earth and the ecosystem unstable with the things that they're doing to make money. Now, while commonly used, these closed loop systems still require makeup water to replace that loss to evaporation. And the thing is, the water lost to evaporation does not replenish in the local lakes or reservoirs where they get this water from. That water's not replenished. So that water's lost forever due to these AI data centers. Okay, efficiency gains. Technologies such as liquid cooling and immersive cooling can reduce water usage, but they are expensive and slower to deploy than traditional methods. So again, you know what that means. If it's going to hurt their pocketbook, they are more than likely not going to use that method to cool these large data centers. Now, water positive pledges. Companies like Microsoft and Google have pledged to be water positive by 2030, meaning they will replenish more water than they consume. So what are they going to do? Put some rain barrels out and collect water when it rains? They're already in a semi-arid desert. And what else can they do? Bring water from other lakes, other freshwater lakes that aren't in that location, ship the water there and put it in the lakes or reservoirs that they use for cooling these data centers. Okay, so ultimately, while data centers are not the largest overall consumer of water, agriculture still takes the majority, as it should. I mean, that's how we grow our food. The way they phrase things here, it's like they think some people will not think through what they said. Their ability to withdraw high quality water from stressed local municipal systems makes them a significant threat to local water security. As if agriculture shouldn't use most of the water and the people that live in these areas, we should be the first priority. So then I asked, how long will it take AI data centers to deplete fresh water? And then it says AI data centers are projected to cause severe local freshwater shortages within this decade. Now, mind you, it's 2026. This decade is almost over. With global consumption expected to increase by 4 to 6 times by 2027, reaching up to 6.6 billion cubic meters annually. While they will not deplete all global fresh water, they are actively creating localized water crises in drought-prone areas by 2026 to 2030. You know, could this be why they have Project 2025 and Bill Gates, who's the CEO of Microsoft? Is this why he's always talking about population control and using vaccines to control population? Now, how do you use a vaccine to control population unless some of the people aren't going to live after they take that vaccine, or they're preventing pregnancies by making people incapable of reproducing? So this is why people say that there are too many people. It's not too many people. It's just that these companies are using up the resources, or they're destroying the ecosystem to where some countries that have farming issues and droughts, they cannot produce the crops and the food they need because some capitalistic person or corporation has gone over to these other countries and now in our country, and they're destroying the ecosystem. And a lot of people talk about civilization, civilization. At least we brought civilization to the people living in huts, but at least their ecosystem wasn't destroyed when they didn't have all of these industrial plants and factories and this equipment for AI data processing. And you know, they want AI to replace people, even the entertainment. They're probably going to have AI playing basketball, dribbling down the court so they don't have to pay these athletes, throwing the footballs. They already got them singing and acting with AI. And you know, I enjoy it, but maybe we need to go back to where animators actually had a pen and drew their characters and used something that did not consume all of the resources that people need. Okay, so here are the key depletion and usage timelines. 2025 to 2026, AI data centers are already causing localized water scarcity, with individual facilities requiring hundreds of thousands of gallons daily. In 2023 to 2024, data centers contributed to drinking water shortages in areas like Arizona and Oregon. Wow. 2027, AI's global annual water consumption is projected to reach between 4.2 billion and 6.6 billion cubic meters, which is 4 to 6 times the annual water usage of a country like Denmark. Wow. 2028, U.S. data centers could consume up to 720 billion gallons of water annually to cool servers. 2030, data centers in Texas alone could use up to 399 billion gallons of water, equivalent to dropping Lake Mead 16 feet in a year. By 2030, nearly 45% of data centers may face high exposure to water stress. Now, you know, Texas already has water issues because, you know, they're recycling toilet water in some places and sanitizing it so that it is drinkable. You know, these people, no wonder the Bible says we'll drink a deadly poison and it won't hurt us, because we're drinking stuff and we're trusting these government officials to do right by us. And really, you know, we don't know how sanitized it is. It's just the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah that we're still alive, because, you know, they're putting GMO in the foods, GMO even in candies. Like, why does candy need genetically modified organisms? It's sugar. Like, what type of organisms are you putting in candy? And it says that many data centers are built in water-stressed areas because of cheap real estate and energy, creating competition with local residents and farmers for water. But local residents are drinking the water to live, not make money. See, these people only care about their money. And this is why they're saying, oh, it's too many people in the world. We need to control the population. And so they'll have AI for entertainment because, I mean, the people are soulless anyway. So why don't I just create some animation and some people that look like people? Because I really don't like people, because we have to feed them. We have to pay them. I don't want to pay those people. They're just peasants. This is crazy to me. This makes me think of the scripture when the Messiah said, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. This is Matthew 24, verses 22 through 28. I'm not going to read the whole passage unless I come back to it later, but these people are wicked. They are wicked. And then we want to say, oh, they're so great because they're billionaires. Oh, look at how much money he made. Oh, he is so fabulous. But they're trying to delete you because they don't want you using their water and the resources, and they don't want to pay you a livable wage. So, wow. Creating competition with local residents and farmers for water. Wow. That is crazy. So then I asked if people using AI art causes AI data centers to use large amounts of data. And it said the increasing use of AI art generators causes data centers to consume large amounts of electricity and water. Generating images is one of the most energy-intensive generative AI tasks, requiring significant computational power for inference, the process of turning a text prompt into an image. Okay, so I like watching the AI stories sometimes. What I don't like is the AI singing so much, even though you can tell when it's AI because they say words crazy. Like one that I listened to called Decades, and one that I listened to said instead of live their lives, they said live their lives. So, I mean, that's a mistake that if you're reading, you won't make, or you will correct it right away. So we can tell. But now I'm like, well, do we really want to use AI? I mean, they wanted to take our jobs. They don't want real people acting, singing, doing jobs that might be manual labor. And for some things where it's really dangerous, I can see that. But yeah, they just want AI people because, after all, AI doesn't ask to go on vacation. AI doesn't have sick leave. They don't need sick leave. AI doesn't get sick. If something happens with AI, you just call a programmer in or some type of computer tech guy. He can fix that right on up. So yeah, these people are wicked. So I'm not going to break down the impact of this. I'm just going to read the summary at the bottom. While some studies suggest the carbon footprint of AI may plateau due to efficiency improvements, the current rapid adoption of AI art is driving a major increase in the resource consumption of data centers. So this is something probably that we can help with. Now, I want to say this as well. AI data centers are also gathering information on us. I think that's probably one of the other reasons they like them, because they can compile on all of this information on everybody. And I'm sure they have a lot of files on us all, because we know that they track our watching habits on YouTube. They track our shopping habits online. They keep our histories when we go on the internet, which those things are, well, keeping the history is convenient. I don't like when they track my shopping, and I kind of don't like when they track what I watch on YouTube all the time, even though some of the algorithms do come in handy. But I'm not putting fear in anybody or trying to put fear in anybody, because the Most High is keeping us. Psalm 91 says that He has angels to protect and guard us in all of our ways. But this information, too, I want to say this, the internet does have a lot of knowledge that we need for these days. So I do thank the Most High for that. But we still have to look at this. But this is why this age of the Gentiles is coming to a close, because all of these inventions, a lot of them just wreak havoc on the earth. And so, that scripture in Romans that says, for we know that the whole creation groans and travails in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption to wit, the redemption of our body. So we're waiting for the Messiah to come, and we're waiting to get our new bodies, because we eat the foods that they produce, and a lot of it is GMO or hybrid stuff. And a lot of us, we have to detox or we fast to try to get this contamination and these toxins out of our bodies. They put pesticides on the food. They're genetically modifying food. And I try to stay away from the GMO food, and they say they label it, but we don't know when things are organic. We don't see them growing that food. And even if it's organic meat, like, they might not use uh, pharmaceuticals in it, but if that animal gets sick, say like with a cancer, they might just cut it out and send it to the market. So these people are not always working with integrity when it comes to our food. I saw a YouTube video with my own eyes. These people were getting their cows ready for market, and to fatten the cows up, they were feeding the cows Snickers bars and M&Ms and candy, all kinds of candy, so that the cows would make their weight when they went to market. So some people are not scrupulous when they're dealing with making their money. They don't always operate with integrity. They don't care if you're going to eat a cow that got fat because it ate M&Ms and Snickers bars instead of them feeding the cow grass, or in some cases, they could feed it oats. But no, they want these cows fat, and they want these cows fat now, so they're going to do whatever they're going to do to make that cow fat. So let's go on and continue. The next question I asked was, when did the USA start building AI data centers? And it says the rapid construction of dedicated AI data centers in the U.S. accelerated in the early 2020s following the widespread adoption of AI technologies and the release of ChatGPT, while large tech companies, hyperscalers, had already been building massive data centers since the 2010s to support cloud services. The specific massive push for specialized AI facilities began around 2022 to 2023. I think it's interesting that this coincides with COVID as well. And I remember when the cloud services became very popular, because I worked in an industry that also used cloud services and helped facilitate cloud services. Okay, so the initial wave, early 2020s, the surge in AI demand for training and running machine learning models caused tech companies like Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Google to start converting or building new data center capacity for AI workloads, often referred to as the AI acceleration period. Rapid expansion from 2024 to 2025, the boom accelerated rapidly, with projections expecting U.S. data center demand to double from 17, I don't know what that GW, to 35 GW by 2030. By 2025, major projects like Stargate, an AI partnership between OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle, were officially announced, aiming for extensive multi-billion-dollar investments in the U.S. That's interesting that it's named Stargate. It makes me wonder if they're doing that because they think aliens are coming, or they know that the Messiah is coming back. Dominance in Northern Virginia. While AI data centers are expanding nationwide, Northern Virginia remains a primary hub known as Data Center Alley, which began hosting high-capacity fiber-connected centers in the 1990s, but has since pivoted to large-scale AI infrastructure. So we already talked about the key players being led by Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, Meta, and others, with companies like CoreWeave emerging as a prominent AI specialized provider. I wonder if that has anything to do with all the layoffs Amazon has had. As of early 2026, the construction of these facilities has transitioned from rapid growth to a massive gold rush, characterized by high energy requirements and billions in capital expenditures, which means they know that they're going to be depleting water. They know that already. So let that sink in. The only one who can help us is the Most High God, because these people don't care. It reminds me of James 5, and you can go read that. I'm not going to read that now. But they don't want to pay a decent wage to people, so they're building their machines and their artificial intelligence to do people's jobs so that they don't have to pay people, but they're using up all of the resources. That's why I posted that screenshot of Childhood's End, because it reminds me of that, where that devil came and wreaked so much havoc in the earth, and of course they were working through the children, that everyone on the earth basically disappeared. And so we really need to be praying about everything these days. And if you're using AI, this isn't to judge you about using it, but this is just something that I want you to consider, because it's depleting the water, the fresh water supply. So without fresh water, you're not going to grow your garden. You're not going to be able to sustain the animals that the Most High created in the earth, that's not going to be sustainable if we don't have fresh water. And you know, they always talk about climate control. Oh, and global warming. You always hear that. Well, this is why. You guys are destroying the earth. You're destroying the atmosphere. And so when we use this, we don't know all of that. We just say, hey, this is a cool new application, not knowing everything that it takes to use this application. Because it makes me wonder when they were doing cartoons, say in the 60s, 70s, and before that time. And we enjoyed those cartoons, the movies, all of that. Were they destroying the ecosystem like they're doing with this AI data center? Okay, so I asked, and the next question, when did the locations of AI data centers become high stress for water? Because I wanted to know if they were already high stress for water before they put the data center there, and these people decided, well, we're going to build it there anyway, which it probably was. They don't care. Okay, but it says the locations of AI data centers became highly stressed for water in the early 2020s, which is close to when they started building them, with the strain accelerating rapidly following the mainstream adoption of generative AI starting in 2022. While data centers have long used water for cooling, the intense power demands for AI chips, which can generate significantly more heat than traditional servers, created a surge in water consumption that caught local resources off guard. That's what it says, but you know, these people know, just like with that CV-19 vaccine. They knew that there would be a lot of harmful side effects. And even when they were presenting themselves, they kept telling people to get extra dosages. So a lot of times people don't care, these people that run these corporations. They just want to make their money, like money, honey. And who cares what the people think? Who cares if they don't have water to drink? You know, it's like Marie Antoinette let them eat cake, but see, you're not going to have any water to be able to bake the cake. So, or grow the wheat to make the flour to make the cake. They're going to just destroy everything. Reminds me of Satan. It says he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that is why this age is coming to an end. That's why the age of the Gentiles is coming to a close. The cup of iniquity of the people that have been ruling the world and dominating the countries and the corporations is filling up, is almost full. And the Most High is judging. He's exposing all of this information. That's why when people get mad about things being exposed, it's crazy because it's for our benefit that the Most High is exposing everything. He's exposing it so he can judge everything. You think that this world is going to get better if you keep voting in people from the left wing and the right wing here in the USA? And they both are on the same bird. They work together behind the scenes. That's why we never see any real change or progress. Or if something does happen, they find a way to backdoor a positive piece of legislation they put forth to put something in it that's going to undermine the original intent, the original good intent of that legislation. They can't be trusted. Okay, so here are some key details on the timeline of this water stress. 2020 to 2021, data centers began intensifying their water footprint, with studies finding that by the end of 2021, roughly 20% of U.S. data centers were already drawing from moderately to highly stressed watersheds. 2022 to 2023, the AI acceleration. The explosion of AI, e.g. ChatGPT, led to a massive increase in water usage. Data centers consumed roughly 17 billion gallons of water in 2023 alone. 2022 to present, about two-thirds of U.S. data centers built or planned since 2022 are in areas with high water stress. Current situations, 2025 to 2026. Local impacts are severe, with some data center clusters in places like Arizona using nearly twice as much water during the summer, and Northern Virginia seeing a 63% increase in water use between 2019 and 2023. Now you're talking about Arizona. Now you know it's hot, frying egg on the sidewalk hot in places like Phoenix and Tucson in Arizona in the summer. And so those people need their water. Now it says why the locations are stressed. Data centers require consistent, cheap electricity and low humidity air to operate efficiently, which that makes sense to be in a low humidity area. Paradoxically, the best locations for these needs, such as the western U.S., Arizona, Texas, parts of Latin America, and arid regions, are frequently those with limited water supply. So it just lets you know that they knew already those places have limited water supply and that it would confect, I made up a word, affect affect the people that live there. They're already having water shortages or water scarcity. Basically, they're a water desert. Like they like to say, food deserts. They're already water deserts. By 2028, it is estimated that data centers could consume 68 billion gallons of water per year, a 300% increase from 2023 levels. By 2030, studies project that water usage for AI could reach 1,200 billion liters annually, leading to increased competition for water with agriculture and residential users. Now it's interesting that they've been talking about gallons, billions and gallons, but for 1,200 billion, they say liters, which you know a liter is less than a gallon. So they're hiding something here. Because why did they go off like that and say, oh, 1,200 billion liters at least? Oh, it's not as much. They're hiding something right there. You know, they do witchcraft with these words. Okay, so then I asked if the locations of AI data centers were stressed before the data centers were there. And I think we already know that Arizona and some other places were. Okay, so it says they were experiencing significant environmental or infrastructure stress, particularly regarding water scarcity and grid capacity. Over two-thirds of U.S. data centers developed since 2022 are in water-stressed regions such as Arizona and Nevada. And we know Nevada is like a desert, intensifying competition for resources with local communities. Like, it's not a competition. You have all the money. They really don't have a say because their local politicians have sold them out. So, you know, we look at this stuff and we like our modern conveniences, but it's kind of like we might need to go back to Little House on the Prairie because this is crazy. I don't know how you're going to do Little House on the Prairie and have a smartphone and a computer, but something's got to give, you know. But we better be praying that we get right with the Messiah and that all of the fullness of the Gentiles that he talks about in the Bible comes in and the iniquity of Babylon fills up so he can come and get us. Because he already told us if it wasn't for him shortening these days, no person would live. Because he knows the mind of these people that are running things. They're like their father, the devil. They come to steal, kill, and destroy. And people are just collateral damage to them. They don't care. Just like when Trump told the people who were at his rallies, I don't really care about you. I just want your vote. Read James 5. Okay. So we talked about how the data centers are in arid regions like the Southwest because they don't have the humidity. but it also places a further demand on limited water resources needed for cooling. And then it's outpaced the infrastructure planning in areas like Northern Virginia and New York because they're developing it so rapidly. Isn't that what these people always do? They always create something, just like with some of the cures. They put it out there. Then they come back later on and said, if you took such and such, there's currently a class action lawsuit going on. Call 1-800 we messed up. But they're not going to say they messed up. Just like with the Ford Explorer, I don't know if some of you remember when the tires were exploding. And the executives knew that that was going to happen, but they didn't want to retool the plant to address the issue with the tires. So their risk management team decided it would be cheaper to pay lawsuits than to retool the plant to prevent any more tires from exploding and any people from losing their lives any more than already had. Because some people were losing their lives when they found out about that. This is the mindset. And you guys want to save this system. I'm ready for the Messiah to come. I just pray that we get our minds right and we start separating from this system as much as we can, at least in your minds, to know that it is not for you if you're living righteously before the Most High God. They don't like us. That's trying to live for Him. Okay, energy grid strain. Rapid development of AI facilities has outpaced infrastructure planning in areas like Northern Virginia and New York, straining power grids and threatening to increase energy costs for residents because we're paying for them. See, really, they should be paying the increase. They're the ones that's making the energy grid become strained and overburdened. We're not. We're using what we normally use. See how that works? And these billion-dollar corporations have the money to pay that. But we're like trying to live day by day and have a vacation and enjoy life. We're not, most of us are not trying to be extravagant. We're just trying to enjoy our lives within the means that we have. Now, some people do live outside of their means, but they still shouldn't have to pay more electricity because AI data centers are causing the grid to be overburdened, overworked. Environmental justice risks. Many sites are located in low-income communities already overburdened by pollution, adding to air and water concerns. And you know, most of the people in my community live in low-income areas. Just like Memphis just had this issue, which is still ongoing. But a lot of people in a certain area are getting cancer because they've built all of these toxic plants around their neighborhoods and is polluting the water and the air. They do not care. That's why I am glad the Most High is ending this system. So what I can suggest to you, if you're out there, you're not a believer, repent, pray. Because with everything that's going on now, the end might be closer than what we think. It doesn't mean the world's going to end, but this system, the time of the Gentiles, is coming to a close. Okay, so pre-existing clustering locations in Loudoun County, Virginia. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Were already major tech hubs, the new larger hyperscaler AI centers are compounding decades-old electrical and land use, according to research from the Sierra Club's Virginia chapter. See, I told you they already know when they put these plants in these locations, these plants and these data centers, they already know the issues and the risks that are involved in doing that. They don't care. Data centers are increasingly being built in water-stressed regions to meet the intense demands of AI, with a 70% increase in such projects compared to the previous 3-year period. These people are wicked. That's a shame. So then I asked, why are AI data centers built in areas that are already hot water stressed? And we probably covered some of it already. AI data centers are increasingly built in water-stressed regions because despite the water shortages, these areas often provide the most critical requirements for rapid development, including cheap land, abundant renewable energy, and proximity to tech hubs. So you know their local governments are involved in this. While water is a major concern, site selection is often primarily driven by power availability and lower operational costs. See, this is why countries outside of the US, like China and others, own toll roads and are buying up all the real estate here in the United States of America. Here's a breakdown of why this paradox exists. Abundant energy and land. Arid areas such as southwestern U.S. often have massive solar power potential and vast cheap land, making them ideal for building large energy dense campuses. And then we talked about the existing infrastructure tech hubs like Northern Virginia or Phoenix, and they already have fiber optic connectivity and reliable electricity grids that are already established, but they're being overburdened. And the water versus energy trade-off. Data centers are often face a choice. Use less water but more electricity, or use more water but less electricity. So they choose the water intensive option to keep energy consumption lower, particularly in hot, dry climates where water is perceived as cheap or available even if scarce. So really they're trading people for their pockets. In the dry air advantages, they like the lower humidity because they said that reduced the risk of corrosion and electrical issues for sensitive equipment. Equipment over people, money over people. That's why they're talking about population growth and population control. Limited regulations, and you can thank the Republicans for this, even though I'm not for either party. But the Republicans are usually known for being lax on regulations regarding pollution and clean air, clean water, and requiring companies to meet stringent rules that would ensure that we have clean air and clean water. Okay? So in some cases, water-stressed regions have historically had fewer restrictions on industrial water use compared to tech-intensive urban areas, allowing for quick deployment. Here are the key impacts of the trend. High consumption. A single large AI data center can consume up to 5 million gallons of water daily, equivalent to a city of 10,000 to 50,000 residents, worsening scarcity. Concentrated data center clusters in areas like Phoenix are putting massive strain on local aquifers, particularly during hot summers when cooling demands spike. Shift to alternative sources. To alleviate pressure on local drinkable water supplies, some companies are beginning to use reclaimed or non-potable water, though this still removes water from the local ecological cycle. Roughly 20 to 40% of U.S. data centers are already located in areas with high or extremely high water scarcity. So I know I've repeated myself a lot, but I wanted to ask this question in several different ways just to get it from different vantage points. Now I am at the last one, and this is regarding a definition of non-potable water. This water is not safe for human consumption because it has not been treated to sanitation standards or is contaminated. It is unsuitable for drinking, cooking, or cleaning dishes, but can be safely used for irrigation. Now think about that, irrigation. Now why are they irrigating the land? It's usually for farms. Industrial processes, toilet flushing, or dust control to conserve drinking water. Usage examples of non-potable water. Okay, And it says high quality is not required and is used in variable applications. Irrigation, watering crops. Okay, so high quality water is not required for watering crops. Now I can see for landscapes and maybe golf courses, but that's still questionable. Industrial processes, cooling towers, machine washing, and manufacturing. But it depends on what they're manufacturing. Toilet flushing, supplying washroom facilities in residential or commercial buildings, dust control, spraying construction sites, fire protection, using fire hydrant systems not connected to drinking water supplies. And then that right there too, I mean, it would have to be sanitized to an extent because you're spraying it on a building or where people live and walk. Street cleaning, washing public streets and surfaces. And here are some synonyms and related terms in case you ever see it. Untreated water, raw water from sources like lakes and rivers, recycled water, highly treated wastewater, gray water, water from showers and sinks, and then, of course, raw water and gray water. Let me see if it'll give me a definition there. Let me get past this first and I'll go back. Then it said that it has to be clearly marked to indicate it's not for drinking, often with purple coloring for pipes. Rainwater, stormwater, gray water, and untreated groundwater are the sources for these waters. Health risks can cause illness if ingested, such as vomiting, diarrhea, or serious diseases like cholera. Commonly called raw water or gray water, this type of water provides a sustainable, high-volume source for non-drinking tasks. But I think that if you're watering crops with it, that's something we should be concerned about. Okay? Because it provides the raw water has health risks like E. coli, salmonella, hepatitis A, norovirus, and parasites. So, that's not good. That is not good. And then gray water, of course, they say is used for shower sinks and laundry, excluding toilets and usually kitchen sinks. But so are we using gray water in our house? Wow, why is it used for a shower and a sink? We got a kitchen sink. We got a bathroom sink that we brush our teeth with. Wow, that's crazy. It says stored gray water can become septic quickly, turning into a form of black water due to decomposing organic matter. That is crazy. These people, I'm telling you, they are just wicked. We can't trust them. They've messed up the ecosystem, because of the lust for money and power. And they don't care. Proverbs 27:20 says, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. I mean, you got billions and billions of dollars. How many more billions do you need? Like, you could pay more money to let us have fresh water, and you find another way to cool your AI data centers. This is crazy. But what does it say? What's in the world? Lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And so that's it. I am done with this video. I just wanted to let you people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say you people, my people, everybody out there. I just wanted to let you know that these people are doing crazy things to the world and to the resources that we depend on to have life, because we need clean water. We need foods that are not contaminated. The animals need clean water. The fish in the sea need clean water. Even the animals that we don't eat need clean water because they're created to keep other animals from overpopulating. They're created, some of them, to eat bugs that might destroy crops. All of the animals have a purpose. And so You know, that scripture, Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. We can see that operating in these corporations and these wealthy people. That is why they do not care about us. Like Michael Jackson said, all I'm trying to say is that they don't really care about us. They do not care. They don't. So this was Ms. Yo, Truth in Love. I was back with another video. I do pray that the Most High will bless and keep you and enrich you in every area of your lives. Peace and blessings to you. Shalom.